Hi, welcome to my vlog. I'm Shelley and this is the Willow Tree Green. Welcome if you're new and thanks for returning if you're regular. I have a few things to share with you today. I've got a failure, a win and well, quite a few wins actually, and a lot of little gift ideas for a gift to November as well. So let's start with my failure because it's better to end on a happy note, right? You may recall if you've watched any of my previous vlogs, this double gauze that I got from Simple Life Fabrics. It's really beautiful. I absolutely love how it looks. It's so sparkly. Um, what I decided to do, because I was sort of desperate to make something up with this, is I tried to make a t-shirt out of the double gauze, basically using the t-shirt pattern that's in the Tilly and the Buttons Make It Simple book. I just sort of extended it to because this is obviously a woven fabric, so it doesn't have stretch. It's a complete and utter failure and I really hate it. I haven't even tried it on because it's just going to be cut up and turned into something else. The neckline, I put some ribbing on that I had, but it was gaping at the front. I haven't even got any photos of me in it because I really don't like it. I tried to fix that by sort of putting a box pleat on the front. It's just made it worse, and the ribbing obviously is sitting really stiffly. So I'm going to take this apart, but this is the t-shirt. It's enormous because I wanted it to be loose, but it just doesn't work for me. And on consideration of the fabric, if I put it up close, you might be able to see that there's the texture of these spots. And I think I mentioned last time, it's kind of like glue splatters, and it just doesn't feel nice against your skin to wear it. It's obviously not on the inside, it's only on the outside, but you can still feel it if you're, if you put your arms across yourself or whatever. So I've reconsidered what I want to do with this. And I was watching Rachel on her channel Stitched Up. She was doing a vlog about various gifts. And one of the items that she had on there was a star-shaped throw pillow. And I immediately thought of this fabric in a star pillow shape. So I think I might do that. There's two big panels obviously still left of this. So I think turning this into a star-shaped throw pillow, which I may well gift to someone, is a better idea. I'm very sad because I was very excited about this double gauze, but for a garment, it's just not working for me. And even loungewear or anything like that, I just don't like it. So sadly, this is a failure, and will become something else and have a new life as something else. I'm kind of interested in making the start pillow, so that could happen quite soon. So that's failure. On the positive note, I have finished my quilt. So I spent on Sunday afternoon and evening, I basically spent 3 hours of my life on my machine doing free motion. I always want to say embroidery, but that's not what I mean. I mean free motion quilting on my quilt. Um, and I have completed the entire quilt. So it is all I was going to say embroidered again, all quilted. It feels delightfully dense and snuggly, and I did in fact sit on the sofa yesterday evening and have the quilt over me. I think I've got a terrible photo my husband took of me with this over me, and I put another photo up of the whole thing sort of clipped to my bookcase as well. And yeah, I'm really happy. It's I think I mentioned it's about a meter square is the size of this. I'm only 4'10", so it's perfect size for me on the sofa. Uh, and I'm really looking forward to sticking it in the washing machine and then putting it in the dryer so it all puffs up and it goes nice and soft, because it's a little bit stiff at the moment. What I would say is, if future me is to remember not to be so not to do so dense free motion on your next quilt, and to sort of leave more gaps. What I've done is some designs on all of the various elements of these. I think there are Missouri stars is the design, and I left the center panel without anything on it, which is nice, but I think possibly I've gone a bit dense, and every single time I look at this I see threads that I need to cut off of it. But anyway, that's going to be going in the wash and then in the tumble dryer. And I'm really looking forward to having this to use. And I'm actually quite excited to do another one, actually. I just need to think of, I've got quite a lot of fat quarters because I sort of decided to go mad and buy a load. So I'm quite excited to do something else on a new quilt and a different design. So yeah, so I was really happy about that, and it's all complete. So I'm just going to screw that up and put that down here. So what next? We've got, and I have put these up on Instagram already, some Christmas stockings. So this one here was my second to last one, and you can see my toe started disappearing because I was copying the same one and going around the outside of it every time, and wasn't paying attention to the fact that the foot was disappearing. So this is self-drafted. I didn't use a pattern. I basically just drew a sock shape. This was my first one, and I just sewed 2 of the outer and 2 of the inner. I quilted the outer pieces, so it's got some of the same quilt batting as I used in my quilt actually in between. And then I used this wonderful gizmo on my machine, which just sits into the foot, and it gives you a gauge of how far away to quilt, so that I could then do straight lines, which is great for someone who has a challenge when it comes to straight lines. And because I was folding over the top, I made a long sock so that it was long enough to give me a fat cuff if I folded it over. I made sure that when I cut the lining fabric, I cut it upside down, so the foot of the lining fabric appears to be the wrong way up when you look at it. But obviously then when you turn it over, it's the right way up. So yeah, so there was my foot cut upside down, and then this one was cut the right way up, but when you turn it over, it's the right way around. I've also played around with the placement of the hanging part. So on this one, it's at the back, and on the next one, it's on the front, and then on the final one I did, I put it in the middle. So I've got 2 that hang this way and 2 that hang that way and 1 that hangs in the middle. So yeah, so you can see that again, this is where I made sure that I did the lining upside down so that when you fold it over, it's the right way up. And this one's got some words on it, and you can see my foot disappearing. This was the last one I did, and I remembered to put the foot back in. So yeah, so that was really good fun to make. And I've got 4 for my kids and 1 for my my daughter's boyfriend, who is like an adoptive kid. So yeah, so there are those, and I have put those up on a gift to November as well. And what I'm thinking of doing is, even though my kids are all practically grown up, I'm going to I always get them a selection box of chocolates, or some sort of chocolates of some description. So my plan is to, rather than keeping the flimsy cardboard boxes with the chocolate bars in them, I'm going to put the chocolates into these instead. This one that's quite narrow, my daughter was over at the weekend and she saw them, and she said that she's absolutely fine with the skinny one. She likes the pattern of the fabric, so she has told me not to remake it, so we're keeping the skinny one. It still works. Obviously, I could get my hand in it then. It's just comparing it to that, you can see the neck is a lot skinnier. So yeah, so they were good fun to do. Then I decided to make some drawstring pouches, which is here. I'm just going to turn my iPad on quickly because I did do some photos of this to sort of help if you wanted to make them, because I didn't use a pattern or a tutorial or anything, although there are absolutely loads of tutorials out there for drawstring bags. I can't find my photos on here now because my brain, I've got another cold. Can you believe it? Someone's given me a cold again. So anyway, these strings here, if you, like me, you tend to get a lot of fat quarter packs. They are always wrapped up nicely with the sort of ribbon strings, and I always keep them, sort of iron them or fold them, and they make really good ties for these, drawstring bags, or I was using them as closures on my junk journals that I was making. And so all I decided to do was, with the leftover fabric from making the these, as you can see, they're matching. I just cut a square shape twice. So I've got two in the main fabric and then two in the lining fabric and then two smaller sort of rectangle shapes, which I then folded over and sandwiched in between the lining and the main piece. And so these are sort of, they could be reversible actually. There's no reason why they couldn't be reversible, apart from I left a turning space in the lining fabric and then sewed that closed at the end. But yeah, so they are kind of reversible actually. And then the little rectangles at the top is what has uh, these ribbons in to make them like that. And I just literally cut just so that the four pieces of fabric, the two outer and two inner matched, and then the small rectangle. Um, it was really simple to do. This one is more oblong in shape, if you like. And I was trying to get that which says sweet treats to show, but obviously when it's ruched up, you can't see it. This one is a smaller one and it's definitely square. And I actually made the little rectangles on the top a bit too short so that when you pull it together, those edges all sit out, but it still works. It, doesn't really matter. My daughter said to me that she likes things to not be perfect when they're handmade because they're more obviously handmade and they're sort of all the love has gone into making them. So there's a thought. And I've only got four of these. I probably will stick some little I've been taking to buying my kids like a little tree ornament each year, so they eventually they'll end up with a little collection of tree ornaments for each year. So I may well put their little tree ornaments into these this year, but we'll see. And then next, what I've made are some gift bags. So here's one. It's fully lined. Again, I think these could probably be reversible if you wanted. And they're big enough to fit in the rope bowls that I made recently. So my husband is intending on giving three of his co-workers the rope bowls that I've made. And so I decided to make three. Well, I've actually got six because I could get two out of one set of fat quarters. So I've got three gift bags with the rope bowls inside. And these are obviously reusable. And I did put together, and again, if I could figure out how to get my photos up, I would talk through it. But I did try to put together a little how-to. Oh, I've done something weird on my iPad now. Give up on that. This is what you shouldn't do when you're not feeling well. A little explanation on how to make these. Now, a couple of years ago, I followed a tutorial by a German lady, and I heard the translation of her channel name, I believe, is Moon Goddess. I'm not going to try and say it in German because I will inevitably say it wrong. I'll link her channel down below. It is in German, but you can follow along with what she's doing on screen, and there are English subtitles, although they're not entirely perfect. But you could definitely follow it along with what she's doing. But basically, and I've got a little bit of video, so I will stick it in if it helps. But you cut again 4 pieces of fabric, so 2 outers, 2 inners, and then you take one of the inner and one of the outer, and you draw a line around. It's like doing a welt pocket. So you draw a square. So this is, I think, it's about 3 centimeters or 1¼ inches from the top. You draw a shape here which is 10 centimeters by 2 centimeters or 4 inches by 1¼ or 1-ish inches, and then you sew around that shape. Then you cut it out. So you do like cut it out with the cutting into the corners. Hopefully the pictures are coming up while I'm talking. And then you cut that out, and then you turn the lining fabric to the inside. So you need to make sure that you've got right size together when you're sewing them together. And then you turn it to the inside. And then what I don't think she shows in her videos, but what I've done is actually top stitch around this shape here. And then when you've done that, you can then sew the corners up on the inside of both your outer and your inner fabric. So it's got little box corners, so it stands up nicely. Stands up quite nicely. And leaving a gap for you to turn it through. And then when you've turned it through, you can then put take use the arm on your machine. Oh, turn it through. And so the top close. So it's a good idea to sort of press the seam allowance in around the top edge so that it can be sewn up quite nicely. And they are super fast and very satisfying to sew. So I really enjoyed it, and I could have sat here and made them all day actually. What I did, rather than measuring anything, because this measuring is not my strong suit, is that two of these are basically a fat quarter. So if you imagine this is the long edge of the fat quarter and this is the short edge coming down, so I just cut a fat quarter. So the fat quarter was folded in half, obviously because I've got two sides. So the fat quarter was folded in half. I cut it in half, and then I cut it along the bottom, so I had two separate pieces for both. So that was two fat quarters because the lining fabric, obviously. And there I had my two pieces ready to do. I did have some I think I'm going to point you to Moon Goddess's vlog, because she gives a full tutorial on how to make these, and also to make different versions. So she's got a sort of long skinny one, which is a good bottle bag. But I really like how the handle is fully enclosed, and technically, again, these are entirely reversible if you wanted them to be. She's also got information on how to do reverse applique, which is interesting. I didn't give that a try. The only thing is, with the method that I was using, where I was basically taking a fat quarter and cutting it in half, is that it couldn't be a directional fabric, because I ended up with one upside down, if that makes sense. Although I could have just turned it up the other way and put the... I'm realizing this now, but it's too late. So I've got 6 of these from 3 fat quarters. No, so that was 2, 4, 6. So 6 from 6. Is that right? I guess something like that. So yeah, these were really fun to make. So that's my update on my makes. I have read another book, in case you're interested. So my daughter Ray has been asking me to read this book for ages, because it's one of her favorite book series, and she really wanted someone to talk to about it. So I think she bought me this for Mother's Day, possibly this year, maybe last year, I'm not sure. And I have finally gotten around to reading it. So what I would say with this book is the first half of the book, I was struggling a little bit. I did not like the main character, Feyre. She annoyed me quite considerably, and I felt that some aspects of the writing was cartoonish. Her family are cartoonishly annoying. So I said to my daughter Ray that I was channeling my inner 12-year-old, and she sort of said, well, it's definitely not suitable for a 12-year-old when you get to the second half. And I can see what she's saying. So after getting through the first half of it, and then into the second half, the tone of the whole book definitely changes, and there's much more adult themes going on. And I got to this one particular section, put the book down, immediately texted my daughter to say, you didn't tell me this was a Mills and Boon book. And she laughed and said that is, she described it like that to one of her work colleagues recently. So it's a fairy based Mills and Boon book, if you're into that genre, which I am. So I'm not ashamed to say it. I love a Mills and Boon book. So the main character, she is annoying. She does grow on you a little bit. She obviously she had a very poor educational upbringing, and it shows through in some of her sort of mental thoughts, I guess. I did enjoy, there were some of the fairy characters in this, Tamlin, who's the main sort of male protagonist, if you like, and Lucian, who's one of the other. I really like those characters, and so I would definitely read more of this series. But getting through the first half was a bit of a struggle, but I persevered, and I'm glad I did. So yeah, so this is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and there was quite a few books in this series, I understand. So I don't have any of the others, but yeah, so that was another read recently. It didn't take very long, so much like a Mills and Boon, which is usually, I always tell my husband, they're like comic books for adults. This was also a very quick read, so it didn't take too long at all. But yeah, recommend it. So that's my update for this week. Hope that was interesting for you. If you did enjoy my vlog, please do give me a thumbs up. Let's do that slower. And subscribe if you haven't already, so you can follow along with the next thing I make. Which I haven't got any plans, so I don't know what it's going to be. But I am seriously thinking about doing another quilt, and I would like to do some more book pillows as well. So some plans going on. So yeah, hope that was interesting, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.